In 2012, archaeologists at Tsinghua University examined a set of bamboo slips from the Warring States period, the Tsinghua Jian, or Tsinghua notes. These are among the earliest surviving historical documents from China, written within a few centuries of the events they describe. The Tsinghua Jian tells a very different story about the fall of the Western Zhou. According to these bamboo slips, King Yu did not destroy the dynasty with a joke. He destroyed it with a political earthquake. He deposed his queen. Not just any queen, the queen from the powerful state of Shen. She was the daughter of the Marquis of Shen, and she had given the king a son, the crown prince Yijiu. King Yu set all of that aside. He expelled the queen. He disinherited the crown prince. And he installed a new queen, Bao Si, and her son Bofu as heirs to the throne. This was not a romantic decision. This was a declaration of war against the Shen clan, one of the most powerful noble families in the Zhou political network. The entire system of Zhou feudalism was built on bloodlines, alliances, and obligations. What King Yu did was tear that system apart. The Marquis of Shen did not accept this quietly. He formed an alliance. He brought in the Chuanrong, nomadic warriors from the western steppe, as military partners, and together they marched on the capital. When the enemies arrived, the beacons went up. But the armies didn't come. Why? Not because King Yu had previously humiliated the lords with fake alarms. According to the Tsinghua Jian, the lords didn't come because the Zhou military machine was already broken. The Western Zhou had been declining for generations. The royal armies were underfunded. The political order was fracturing. The lords were already calculating whether to support the center or look after themselves. The beacons were lit. And nothing happened. King Yu was killed on the slopes of Li Mountain. The capital burned. The dynasty ended. There was no beacon tale in the Tsinghua Jian. No laughing woman. No joke. Just a king's political recklessness, and a coalition of aggrieved elites and foreign fighters who came to collect what was owed. So where did the beacon story come from? It appears first in the records of the Grand Historian, written by Sima Qian. Sima Qian was born roughly 700 years after King Yu died. His account of the Western Zhou's final years draws on older sources, including the Book of Discourses from the state of Zheng, but the specific beacon tale with the smiling woman appears to be Sima Qian's own elaboration. That means the story you've heard in every textbook, the woman who smiled and destroyed a dynasty, was written down 7 centuries after it allegedly happened. By that point, the Zhou dynasty was ancient history. The Confucian scholars who dominated Han Dynasty intellectual life had every reason to shape the story into a moral lesson. Women destroy kingdoms. Do not let emotions guide state affairs. This is what happens when a king prioritizes desire over duty. The beacon story fit perfectly into that framework. Third, even if we set aside the beacon question, Bao Si's real crime, in the original historical record, was being beautiful and being chosen by the king. She did not start a war. She did not write a policy. She did not command an army. She was, as far as the historical record shows, a woman from the state of Bao who was given to King Yu as a diplomatic gift. Her existence was defined entirely by men, by the king who desired her, by the ministers who resented her, and by the historians who needed her to explain a political catastrophe. In the poems written by Zhou nobles during and after the collapse, we see the raw accusation. Chaos did not descend from heaven. It came from this woman. That line from the Book of Odes, Lanfei Jiangzi Tan Sengzi Furan, is the original source of the charge against Bao Si. It was written by elites who were furious about losing their positions, their alliances, their power. And they found a convenient target. Now think about this carefully. The Western Zhou lasted roughly 300 years. During that time, it had a fully developed political system, a military structure, an economic base, a network of feudal obligations. A 300-year civilization does not collapse because one woman smiled at the wrong moment. If the dynasty could be destroyed by a single emotional event, by a king's bad decision, by a woman's amusement, then the dynasty was already hollow. The structural failure had already happened. The smile was not the cause. It was the excuse. And the real tragedy of Bao Si? She never smiled because she was miserable. Because she was a political token traded between states. Because she was made queen by a king's obsession and watched her world collapse around her. because she was taken from her home, placed in a court that was tearing itself apart, and given the blame when it all ended. The story that gave her the most famous smile in Chinese history, the smile that allegedly destroyed a dynasty, may have given her the saddest life that history recorded. History called her the destroyer of the Western Zhou. But the Zhou destroyed themselves. And the storytellers, the men who wrote the verdict 700 years later, needed a woman to carry the blame. So they gave one a smile she never had, and blamed her for a kingdom that was already falling. That's what we do. That's what the system does. Find a woman, give her the story, and let her carry the weight of what men could not explain. Bao Si never smiled, and she was punished for it anyway. Now let me ask you something. Who in history was blamed for something she never did? And who do you think we should cover next? Leave it in the comments. I want to hear from you. And if this story made you think differently about how we tell history, share it. Someone in your feed needs to hear it. I'll see you in the next one.